Hey everyone, it's Alora, and today I'm here with a huge spring book haul. Now, I've been trying really hard not to buy very many books because I have way too many that I haven't read. Anyway, apparently my resolve isn't as good as I would like it to be because I still have quite a few books to show you here today. How many do I even have? Hold on, let me count. I have 17 new books. This is a collected book haul, so I definitely didn't buy them all at once, but over the course of a couple of months. Some of them then you will have seen in a couple of my last videos because they've been coming up. They're books that I have been reading, and so sorry about the repeats, but anyway, here we go. The first book that I purchased in April was Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. Now, I know that I have an entire series by Laini Taylor that I have yet to read. I know, believe me. But I really wanted to read this one because everyone has been talking about it and it just sounded so fascinating, so I ordered it up and it arrived and I've now read it, so I will be talking about it more in my May wrap-up. Definitely a fun fantasy though. So there's that. The next book that I want to talk about is also a fantasy YA book, and that is Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst. Now this book is about a princess who is pledged to marry. She's betrothed to this prince in another kingdom. So when she comes of age, she journeys to this other kingdom, and instead of falling in love with the prince, she happens to fall in love with his sister, the other princess. So this is a lesbian princess story, and it also has a lot of political intrigue. Abandoning the fantasies for a moment, I picked up this contemporary, Amy and Roger's Epic Detour. This is by Morgan Matson. I have read one other Morgan Matson book and it wasn't my absolute favorite, but this is supposedly her best work, so I'm really looking forward to it. What I've heard is that it has a multimedia format, so there are playlists and things like that in here. This is about a girl whose father has died and she has to journey across country, take a road trip basically to get, I'm not exactly sure why she has to take a road trip, but somehow she needs to get his car to a different state or something like that, and then she is accompanied by her neighbor, perhaps? Roger? That's my understanding. I don't really know, I haven't read it yet. Hopefully it's fun. Seems like a good summary read. Another contemporary that I picked up is Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda. This is written by Becky Albertalli and is about a gay boy named Simon who is having this email relationship with another boy in his school named Blue, but he doesn't actually know who the other boy is. And then at the very start of the novel, his emails are discovered by this other kid who goes to the school, and this other kid, Marty, starts blackmailing him. So this is a good story about identity, and it's also really hilarious. The next book that I want to talk about I actually picked up for school, so I have a good excuse for buying this one, although I feel like I should have already read it, being an Alaskan. That book is The Raven's Gift by Don Reardon. This is a very famous book in Alaska. Don Reardon actually teaches at the university that I attend, and although I've never taken one of his classes, this work is very well known throughout the state. I haven't read it yet though. I'm taking this class called Psychology of Women, and that's why we're reading it, but so far, I almost feel like it's a zombie book in Alaska, but I could be completely wrong. I'm only about 50-60 pages in. It's about these two people, John and his wife Anna, who go to a small bush village in the middle of Alaska in order to teach. So they are brand new teachers, they just finished their program, and they decide to go on this grand adventure to teach in the middle of nowhere, Alaska. I don't really know much more beyond that. This is actually really interesting to me though, because when I was 5 years old, my parents, who were teachers at the time, decided to move us from Montana to a bush village in the middle of Alaska in order for them to teach. So this is actually kind of maybe potentially similar to a situation that my parents faced. Shifting gears yet again, we have Always and Forever Lara Jean. This is the third book in the To All the Boys I've Loved Before series by Jenny Han. I really enjoyed the first two. They were super girly and feminine, there was lots of baking, and it was a really enjoyable time. The main character is very likable, so even though this doesn't really have a whole lot of substance to it, I still feel like I will have a good time reading it. Alright, let's talk about mysteries. I am not a mystery fan. I don't enjoy reading mystery novels, and yet somehow, here I am with The Girl on the Train. I think what it is that I want to watch the film, but I don't like watching the film before I've read the book, so here we are. I think everybody by this point knows what The Girl on the Train is about. The order that I'm going in here is just kind of the order in which I bought them, so if there doesn't seem to be a unified theme, that is why. The next one that I picked up was Almost Adulting by Arden Rose. Arden Rose is a YouTuber that I occasionally watch. She's pretty funny. She also has a lot of good practical life advice, and so I thought this would be a useful guide. It's called All You Need to Know to Get It Together, sort of. And I enjoyed this book. I'll talk about it more in my wrap-up, but anyway, I've read it and it wasn't the best. This next book is really very exciting to me, and that is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, the illustrated edition. Jim Kay is one of my favorite illustrators. He did the illustrations in A Monster Calls, which is my favorite book of all time, which everybody knows by this point because I say that all the time. But I'm really looking forward to this. Earlier in the year, I read the first one, which came out I think a year and a half ago. They're releasing one a year at Christmas time. And so I read the first one last year, and now I picked up the second one. I know I'm a little late to the party, but here I am, and I'm really looking forward to reading this. These books are just so charming, and the illustrations make them even more lovable. Anyway, this should be a good time. Alrighty, so when I was in Seattle, I actually went to this quaint little bookstore. I don't recall what it was called. Oh, it's called Mercer Street Books, and I really enjoyed it. I spent way too much time, according to my friend, I'm sure, browsing all of the shelves. It felt really nice. It was just a little used bookstore in Seattle, and I ended up picking up The Secret History by Donna Tartt. The reason that I picked this book up is because there's this bookstagrammer. This all sounds so cheesy, but there's this bookstagrammer that I follow, and I've forgotten her name. I'll get that for you, one second. But she talks about this book all the time and how intriguing and thick with magic it is, but I thought that it was about a prep school in New England or something, so I'm a little bit confused. I really don't know what it's about, but I hear good things about it, so now I own it, and maybe I'll start it someday. Okay, so her name is Celie Knight, and she has the most gorgeous book photography. She's really cool, so if you like looking at photos of books and like reading captions about them and magical, mystical, fairy, nymph, forest creatures, she dresses up like those, and she's got beautiful long red hair, and she's just the coolest, so I would definitely recommend following her if you are not already. Anyway, so yeah, Secret History. The next two books are the result of a late night Amazon prowl. I buy way too many books on Amazon. I have a wish list on Amazon, so I try really hard just to put books on the wish list and not actually purchase them, but occasionally I just like to scroll through the wish list just to see what I was interested in, and then sometimes books catch my eye again and I go, I need that right now in my life. That needs to be mine now, today, this second. So then I add to cart, add to cart, add to cart, and then I end up, with a lot of books. Oops. So one of those books this time was Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. Jay Kristoff is one of the authors of Illuminae, which I still haven't gotten to. I know. But this one looks creepy, and it's a signed first edition, and I know nothing about it except for there's this other bookstagrammer who talks about it all the time and says it's her favorite book ever on the face of the planet. So I decided that I really wanted it. The first in an epic new fantasy series. I don't really want to know much more about it because I haven't been spoiled yet, so we're just gonna leave it at that. On that same night, I ordered Raw Vegan Not Gross, which is Laura Miller's cookbook, and I've been excited about this because I've watched Laura Miller since she was just doing videos on Tastemade. She has the best personality. She is so funny, and she has really great videos. She has good raw vegan food videos, and she also has cool social and anxiety-based videos that I would definitely recommend checking out if that sounds interesting to you. Like I said, she's super funny. So I definitely wanted to buy her book. There are lots of gorgeous photos in this, by the way. So I don't know if you can see that, but definitely worth the money, at least for someone like me who likes to go through cookbooks systematically, page by page, reading all the recipes. After that, I picked up another school book, but this one looks really interesting, and it's a novel, so I thought I'd share it. And that is The Whale and the Supercomputer on the Northern Front of Climate Change. This is for an environmental science class, so I will keep you updated when I end up reading it. And finally, the last four books that I have, I really shouldn't have them. I shouldn't have purchased them, but I went to Barnes & Noble with a friend, and I told myself I am not going to buy any books. I said, Alora, no books, you don't need any more. And so I was really, really good for the first hour. I picked them up and I put them back, and I didn't carry any around with me, and I said I'm not going to buy any books. He can buy books, I'm not going to buy books, it's fine. But then, after an hour, my resolve went out the window, so I ended up with 4. The first of which is Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I've wanted to buy this book for such a long time because I watched the film, which was done by Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli, and it's so fantastic. It's really, really magical, and it just transported me to another world, and that's saying something because I'm not really a big fan of films. I don't really like movies that much, so the fact that I actually was engrossed the entire time really meant something, so I decided, you know what, I really want to read the book. And that is the story of how I now own Howl's Moving Castle. That was basically my gateway book. It was the first one I picked up and decided to buy when I was at Barnes & Noble. The next one that I picked up was A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. I read this book as a child, absolutely, but I wanted to reread it and I didn't own a copy, and obviously it's too much effort to ask my mom to borrow her copy, so now I have my own. And then I saw something very exciting and I just couldn't resist. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. I tried really hard, but that's Carry On in paperback. I know, I own the hardcover, it's right here. I'm gonna put them together so that they can be happy. Alright, which cover do you guys like better? I'm not sure. I kind of like the original cover better for the simplicity, but this one really has a cool comic vibe, and it's purple, so that's fun. Also, Baz on this one is looking pretty badass. Anyway, I know I didn't need the paperback, but I did want to reread this book, and I really love Rainbow Rowell, and I wanted to support her, and I think supporting bookstores is good, so that's my justification. The final book in this book haul today is Reagan's Fault at Peru's Project. I'm going to blame her because she recently recommended this book, and then when I was at Barnes & Noble I saw it was in paperback, so I decided to pick it up. And that is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is a story about a man who is living an ordinary life. He has a wife that he loves and a child or 2 that he loves, a job that he's perfectly content with, and then one morning he wakes up and he has a different wife and different kids and a different job, and his wife is married to somebody else, and basically he doesn't have his life anymore, and that just sounds really fascinating to me, so I guess it's sort of a thriller sci-fi type novel, and I wanted to read it, so now I have it. Come on, tell me that doesn't sound super cool. Alright everyone, that is my spring book haul. It was pretty big. I'm really happy with the books that I have. Even though I complain about myself and my book buying habits, honestly, I really love buying books, and I'm very happy when I do. That way I have the opportunity to read whatever I'd like to whenever the fancy strikes me. And yeah, it just really makes me happy. So I hope that you guys are having a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and until next time, stay happy, stay healthy. Bye guys.